So the Cleveland Browns, who have been a bad team all year long, Deshaun Watson has not been good. They've struggled. It took another weird turn yesterday when Deshaun Watson goes down with a non-contact injury. They show the replay, and you can clearly see his Achilles explode.
Yeah, it popped.
And we've seen it enough now to where everybody knows, okay, that's it. Like, that's a wrap. We know what this is. We've seen it many times before. And while he's out there, some Browns fans were cheering the fact that he was injured. They went to DTR after that. I think, did DTR get a finger injury? I think it was later, and then that's why
later
Jameis
in the
Winston
game
came in.
Yep.
So, Myles Garrett was upset about fans booing Deshaun Watson, called him, among other things, a model citizen, which is kind of wild. But, hey, it is what it is. Jameis Winston took it a step further and decided to say this following the game.
Oh, no.
I am very upset with the reaction to a man that has had the world against him for the past 4 years, and he put his body and life on the line for this city every single day, regardless of your perception, regardless of what you thought should happen with him. He committed every single day that I've been here to be the best that he can be for this team. And I do not want the treatment that Deshaun Watson has received from these passionate fans. I know you love this game. When I first got here, I knew these were some amazing fans. But Deshaun was treated badly. And now he has to overcome another obstacle.
Hey, man. Brady, go ahead, buddy.
No, I mean, look. I can understand the frustration of all the players who hear that, witness that, and go, ooh, like that could be me. And there's an element of that, too. I mean, you don't want to see that for any player. You understand that the time they put in, all the effort they put into this game, and what goes on behind the scenes. So you hate to hear fans do that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, okay? He hasn't been a model citizen. I don't know any model citizen that has had 22 lawsuits, 23 lawsuits against them, and what he was alleged of doing, which, again, if he was innocent, he could have taken it to court and all that. He chose not to. He settled with all of them. And beyond that, for Browns fans, I would say this, because obviously I'm from Columbus. I know a lot of Browns fans. There are a lot of people who, when they signed him, didn't feel great about it in the sense of what he was being accused of. And no matter what, I don't care if it's Myles Garrett, Jameis Winston, you can't detach what he was being accused of and the game of football and everything else. Like, it all comes in as part of the baggage when they brought on Deshaun Watson. So he comes in with all of this baggage, and there was a lot of Cleveland Browns fans who were willing to look the other way or accept it and accept him for his past transgressions, or even current, as they were still going on while he served his suspension and trying to figure this whole thing out. Then you come down to the performance aspect of it. It's never come close to living up to the $230 million fully guaranteed that he signed to come play for the Browns. It's never lived up to everything they lost in that trade, all the draft capital that now goes to the Houston Texans and has allowed them to be a contender in the same conference as you. And in fact, when he wasn't on the field last year, the team then goes on this miraculous run to win 11 games and goes to the playoffs. So it only builds more to the frustration of, at some point, you need the guy who's being paid $230 million fully guaranteed to perform like it. And I think the most upsetting part about yesterday was this was probably his best game of the season. Is that kind of fair to say, at least the start that he got off to? He was having one of the better games he's had this season, maybe even as a Brown. And so for the injury to take place now, it stinks for him personally. But I think we can all understand where a Browns fan comes from. There's a lot of pent-up aggravation about, just the signing in general, the performance and what they've got up to this point. It doesn't make booing for or cheering for a guy who gets hurt right. But there's also an element of them probably sitting there saying, like, hey, man, we've invested a lot into this guy, and he has not lived up to everything else. And on top of it, he's got a new lawsuit that's out there that he just most recently settled. And so there's just all these things on the outside that I think have led to a breaking point of it would have been one thing if he came in, performed at a really, really high level, was an MVP caliber type quarterback during the tenure to be able to deal with the fact of what he was allegedly doing off the field. Now you get it to a point where it's like people want to move on. They're so tired of talking about it. It's one thing to be a bad football team. It's another thing to be a bad football team when you have a guy who's alleged doing what he's been doing off of the field hanging over your head too. It just adds to kind of the embarrassment, the frustration. So again, not advocating ever for the cheering and all of that. But I think you can understand why Browns fans are like, all right, we just want to move on from this whole situation. And unfortunately, I don't know if it'll come via this injury. Obviously, it's going to be a torn Achilles. He'll be out for this year. I don't know what that means for them heading into 2025. But I can see both sides of this, even as bad as it is to hear them cheering when a guy's down on the ground like that, dealing with a torn Achilles.
Yeah, I don't think that's appropriate. Obviously, that's just common sense. It's not appropriate to cheer while somebody's hurt. I also would say in 2024, heading into 25, please don't use putting your life on the line and you're a quarterback in the National Football League. Like that those two things do not go hand in hand. So that's a little overstated by Jameis. Putting his life on the line. No, he's not. He's playing football. A quarterback in the National Football League.
I would say
if you sneeze on a quarterback the wrong way, it's a penalty these days. Your life is not on the line as a quarterback. So that's first and foremost. All right. But then secondly, the whole idea, he went down the lane of being where he's from, the Deep South, and the family element of it, and this, that, and the other, and what that represents, and he wasn't raised that way. Well, we don't know how each one of those fans are raised because you're not their family. You are a participant on the team that loves their team. That's what you are. So sometimes we get a little carried away with this whole idea of the fan is the family. No, they're not. They're your fan. And generally, they're a fan of the team. And if they're a fan of you, they are exactly that, a fan of you. They don't know your middle name. They don't, maybe they're a fanatic, they might. I mean, there's certain things that they're just not going to be privy to, and the same to you as a player, as it applies to these people's lives. You're not their family. Like it's a pronounced way of trying to endear yourself to your fan base, but make no mistake about it. It's a business, and the business is to grow your fan base so that you gain support in the way that you can in ticket sales and merch and TV watching ratings and all that stuff. So you're there to perform. You're there to perform. So when you get into a point of where you feel like you can justify a fan not being a fan based upon the elements of family, you're living in a world of delusion. And that's it is what it is. But listen, the dude hurt himself. You never want to see a guy get hurt. It looked like he was crying. He was genuinely upset. And you know what? I would say in the moment, keeping it in the moment, I felt bad for the dude. I really did. I haven't had any type of really hard moments where I was like, man, I feel bad for the dude. Like, just because I have daughters. And I just, for me, it's never sat well with me, all of the allegations that we've heard. But I didn't invest anything emotionally towards it. Personally, I just didn't, I'm not a fan. That's all. But I did feel for him. I did feel for him to see like how upset he was, because you're probably. I mean, if I read his tears, like read his emotions in my own way, I guess it was like that was just a total disappointment of maybe in his mind he thought that he could play his way out of where he is. Like, because ultimately, if he doesn't play himself out of where he is currently, all the money in the world doesn't remove what you're going to have to live with walking around day to day during this career and post-career.
It's over.
Right?
Like football, in a lot of ways, you can say football was the escape. Like he got an opportunity on a big money deal to go out and just play football and resume his career when a lot of people think, maybe he shouldn't have gotten the opportunity. And he's sucked